nice one at home.
Oh, okay. Stetson.
It's a custom made.
Oh. Do you keep a straight pinky when you wear it?
If you'd like me to. All right. So it sounds like we're live right now. Just so you know, this is being streamed through our the county's YouTube page. So if you know anyone that wants to watch it, I shared a link to the sheriff's office Facebook, and then anybody who goes to the county's YouTube page can go watch this if anyone has questions and wants to watch it. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll kind of get started here and just kind of talk a little bit about the history of this mill levy, what we've done with the money, and what we need and why we need to continue it. And then at the end, I'm here for questions, so if anyone has questions, I don't want to take up too much time because I know it's a Tuesday night and people are busy, but I will be here to answer questions. So to kind of get started, I have my notebook here. The history of this mill levy, 5 years ago, even if you go back further than that, the sheriff's office was funding a majority of their, not a majority, but a very big portion of their budget with inmate revenue. So we get paid to bring inmates, if we have Department of Correction inmates or inmates from other counties, we get paid to house them. We do not get paid for our own inmates. So we were funding a big portion of our budget with that. And it was it's a big unknown, and it is not a secure source of revenue. And obviously with the more inmates, the more of a cost we have. You have to have more staff, they use more water, more food, your medical costs, all of that goes way up for the inmates. So in 2020, Sheriff Meehan, I was the captain at the time, we put together and got a mill levy passed by the citizens of Broadwater County. It expires this year. It was a 5-year mill levy. And when we went around and talked to people, we went to 3 different meetings. It was kind of unfortunate. COVID hit right after we kind of started. But we talked to people. We were listening on a Facebook Live, and we were just trying to talk to everyone we can. And the consensus for the majority of the people in Broadwater County, they wanted a few things. They wanted more cops. They wanted to fix our wages. They wanted us to start our reserve program. Well, we did all of that. Right away, we hired 2 cops or 2 deputies off of a COPS grant. That's a federal government grant. I don't know the number right off the top of my head. It's not, essentially they help fund a portion of a deputy, and after 4 years, you have to have that position fully funded. So right now, those 2 positions are fully funded by our budget. Also the reserve program, we started our reserve program up. It went away quite a while ago. I don't remember the exact year, but so we got that thing fired up. We have pretty much 2 reserves right now. We have 1 full-time. We have another one that he may have finished his first portion of training hours last night. So he should be getting sworn in here soon. I got a call probably tomorrow and find out where he's at. And then everyone wanted us to fix our wages. We were a training ground for basically everyone, whether it's dispatch, detention, or for deputies. People would come here, we would train them. It cost thousands of dollars to get somebody trained and equipped, and then they would leave and go somewhere else because they could make more money. We fixed that. We got our wages up everywhere. I would say they're still probably not what they deserve to be, but they are up to a comparable wage for a department our size. Along with that, I've been able to do a couple things because of that mill levy. In my budget right now, I have a position for a South End deputy. If you've not been to that end of Broadwater County, I highly encourage you to go down there and then take either Wheatland Road or Price Road and just drive around. I'm pretty sure talking to Angie Polson, our clerk and recorder, that there are more registered voters down there than anywhere right now in Broadwater County. It has exploded. There are subdivisions down there that have not been filled. And I know here in legislation, a lot of that's probably going to get fixed. And I'm sure over these next 4 or 5 years, the building will take off again. And then one thing we've been able to do, was probably one of my highlights, I guess, and one of my favorite positions, is we got an SRO in the school. For those of you who don't know, it's a school resource officer. So we have a full-time deputy. He spends 40 hours a week in the school ensuring that these kids are safe. You know, without him and a call comes in, if we don't have anybody around, you know, it could be 5, 10, half hour, just depending on what's going on to get people down here to help. I was talking to somebody the other day, I can't remember who it was, and I wish I could have some like goggles or something to walk around where the public could see what I see with that position. So Sergeant Cordova, if you don't know him, he is our SRO. Every morning, I try my best to get down here and walk through the school. I try to say hi to the kids, hi to the teachers, just see how things are going, check in on Tony, because he kind of gets, you know, he doesn't see us a lot. So I try to come down and just check in on him, see what's going on. And to be able to see little kids that I know have a troubled home life, go running up to him and giving him hugs and telling him good morning in the mornings, and watching him walk around with middle school kids who are going through a lot, just being that age, watching those kids follow him up and down the hallway. I'll go into his office sometimes and they're in there talking to him. And then you go to the high school and he's walking around and he's fist bumping kids that, once again, I know have a troubled home life. He's talking to them and he's creating these bonds that you can't put a price tag on this. And obviously, more important than all that is the fact that he is here to make sure these kids are safe if something ever happens. You know, I would say a lot of these schools where you have had major school shootings or major incidents happen there, they probably never expected that to happen. I mean, I bet if you called down to Uvalde and talked to people down there, they would probably say, we never expected this to happen here. You never know where something like that's going to happen. We have had threats around the school with kids in it, people outside of it, you know, and now we have somebody that is directly there to make sure. A few years ago, we had, knock on wood, it hasn't happened in a little bit, but there were these challenges out there, TikTok challenges, where they were calling for national days of school violence. And, you know, so when we would find out about that, we would have to come down and, you know, myself, Under Sheriff Harris, for those of you who knew him, he retired in December. I know Mark was down on some of them. By the way, I guess this is Under Sheriff Mark Wood. I didn't introduce him, so he's here to just kind of help out and support things. So that if you don't know, Brandon Harris retired in December, and Mark has been promoted into Under Sheriff. But anyway, so we would come down and we would end up having 4 or 5 guys around here just in vests walking around, trying to make sure the kids are safe. You know, there have been bomb threats. I think last year we might have had one around this time. We had to come down and basically in the middle of the night clear this entire school. And that means every cupboard, every garbage can, every bathroom stall, every drawer. There was like probably 4 of us. We opened every door and cleared this entire school to make sure that there was nothing going on. It turns out through the FBI that it was a false threat, but we don't know. We don't know when something like that's going to happen. We take every one of them very seriously. So anyway, that's kind of what we've done with the help of the mill levy. The mill levy pays for that SRO position, it pays for that south end position, it pays for 2 other deputy positions that we currently have. Getting into that, so I've heard a couple times, there's more deputies, there's more cops around here than ever. There's more deputies here than when I was a kid. And I want to kind of get into why there are. I will start kind of with the structure of our sheriff's office. At the top, it starts with myself, Under Sheriff and Captain. Us 3, we do administrative duties, doing these things. You know, we meet with commissioners quite a bit. We also had an administrative assistant, and unfortunately in 2020, she passed away. When that happened, we took all of her duties, concealed weapons permits, civil, and everything else she did, bill paying, and we distributed it amongst, Under Sheriff Wood. He pays bills almost all day long. Our jail commander, she does a lot of the civil and concealed weapons permits. I do sexual violent offender registrants. So we all kind of took those duties on so we could get more help with deputies out on the street. Next, you get down to the deputies. So currently, right now, we've got 10 deputies. We've got 8 of them that are in a car out patrolling. Our shifts are Sunday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Saturday. So you have night shift, day shift. So we got 8 of them. So that only means there are 2 deputies working during the day and only 2 on at night. I have obviously Tony as an SRO, so he's in the school during the summer, or if it's Christmas break, he goes out and he helps work a patrol shift because we get busy, especially in the summertime. And then I also have a full-time detective. For those that you know her, Detective Michelle Frost, she spends 40 hours a week investigating mostly sex crimes. We get probably 1 to 2 sex crimes reported to our office every month for Broadwater County. Those take sometimes years and years to finish. We had one, I think from start to finish, it was probably at least 3.5 years from the time we got the call to the time he got sentenced to prison. And that's all she does. She doesn't have a lot of those. She will work on, help out with felony thefts or whatever they are. But most of the time, she's working sex crimes, unfortunately. So then you get into dispatch. We got 6 dispatchers. That's usually 1 a shift, plus our dispatch supervisor that does nothing but fill in shifts. She works nights. She'll work nights to days to weekends. That's all she does is fill in shifts. And then we got 8 detention officers. So we got our jail commander, Johnny Spurlock. She just makes sure that the jail's operating, and she gets inmates from other places, looks at policies, makes sure everything's going all right. And then we've got transport sergeant. So those of you know Donald Kynette, he's been there 37 years. And he does all of our transports. He also helps out down in the jail when they get busy or need help. And then we have, that'd be 6 detention officers down there working 24/7, 365. Detention and dispatch, it never shuts down. We cannot shut those down, ever. Christmas, deputies, we always got deputies out, deputies on call. We've got corners. I'm the elected coroner. We got 4 deputy coroners. We rotate calls on weekends, and then during the week, whoever's there just takes the call. So I'll get into a little bit of stats with Broadwater County. In 22, our office ended with 482 cases for the year. That is something that usually comes in through dispatch. The deputy gets the call. They usually have a case usually means an investigation, an arrest, citation, something of that form. Last year, in 24, we ended with 609. Do the math between 10 deputies, 609, that's pretty much 61 cases per deputy per year. That's at least 1 a week, and then you get into the paperwork that involves. And that's just a case. That's not, responding to things and calls for service that they don't have a case. Traffic stops, they make a traffic stop. That's not a case. You get a call where you go just tell somebody, hey, try to get along or whatever it is. That's not a case. And then I want to get into a little bit about what's going on the highways out here. So obviously Highway 287, I tried to get the math off or the numbers off the state's website, so blame them if these are not right, but I believe it just seeing it out there. So according to the state, there is probably an average of about 5,000 daily drivers on 287. You get down to I-90, there's about 18,000 people driving back and forth down there. If you don't know, we got about 3 miles of I-90 that goes through the south end of Broadwater County. You get down there, you've got teasers, you've got town pump, we've got the rest stop down there. We've got a lot of things starting to happen down that way. I want to talk, or I'll get into a little bit, let me think here. So the county population, I'll get into that. I looked up the stats on the Census Bureau the other day. In 2000, Broadwater County had 4,385 residents. In 2020, they had 5,612.
So essentially, in 20 years, we had about 1,300 residents come into Broadwater County. From 2020 to 23, we now have 8,030. They don't have the 24 stats. So basically, from 2000 to now, we've doubled in population size, and it's only going to continue. And obviously, with that, more people, more crime. It's just the way it goes. I wish it didn't go that way, but it is. I'm going to talk a little bit. So last weekend, starting last Thursday, I will tell you about how our days went. And this is all, for the most part, happened either in Townsend or right outside of Townsend. So Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon, we get a call. There's 4 people involved in some kind of a disturbance. 1 person goes to jail for disorderly conduct. That's in the city. He bonds out. Literally leaves the jail, continues to drink, ends up knocking or opening someone's door and assaulting him, punched him in the face. So he went back to jail. So go to Friday, deputies are running calls back and forth. Deputies make a stop on a car. They have, this individual had, I think it was like $60,000 warrant from the U.S. Marshals. She left a house that is a house that is selling things they shouldn't be. We then called probation and parole to come down and help search that house. In the middle of all of this, so we got 3 deputies out trying to handle that. We have an individual that takes we believe it's like 270, I don't know, it's a rifle, and they shoot it through a side of a house. It misses an individual by about a foot. It almost hit him right in the head. It then goes into a refrigerator and fragments out. Luckily, Under Sheriff Wood happened to be coming in to help search the house, and he was sitting in the alley and he heard the shots. Instantly, everybody pretty much had to leave to go down to that. We left 1 deputy with the house that was getting searched with probation and parole. I came out. We tried to call the individual out. He would not come out. He would not respond to us. His phone was shut off. I had to call Lewis and Clark County SWAT team because we don't have our own SWAT team. I had them on the phone. They were starting to get geared up. I told them, give us a little bit. I just want you guys ready. If I call you, you're on your way. Thank God, Under Sheriff Wood was in the back alley when the individual tried to sneak out of a garage thing. I don't even know what it is. So he was able to be placed into custody. Immediately after that, an individual commits suicide. So now a deputy that started shift at 7 a.m., that was supposed to be home at 5 p.m., was now going to a suicide with Under Sheriff Wood and myself. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it was not pleasant. We get down there, we deal with that. I know I didn't get home till 2 in the morning Saturday. You get on, the deputy, he had to work Saturday morning, so he checks on. He then gets a domestic Saturday morning down in Three Forks. So he has to go down and arrest that individual, come back, he's running calls. And then that night, the other 2 deputies are working. Another individual that ends up, I don't even know the whole story, it's kind of a mess. He ends up, we think he crashed his car, somehow he cut his hand. He basically was trespassing in a house, he got kicked out, he kept going into a camper, coming and leaving, and then he got chased down the alley by somebody in the house. They ended up in a scuffle. That took hours just trying to figure out what the heck was going on with that. That's just a weekend in Broadwater County. And I'm not going to say that happens every weekend, but those weekends are becoming, or days are becoming more and more common because we got more people. We got more people driving through Highway 287, I-90. It's just happening. It's unfortunate. You wish it didn't happen, but there's nothing you can do to stop some of that.
The man hours going into all those.
Yeah, you get into, so Friday night we had 6 employees, myself and Under Sheriff Wood, out there dealing with this. The overtime, people getting called out for that. The 1 deputy is supposed to be home at 5. I don't think he probably got home till midnight. So I mean, the overtime, and it's not like you can just send somebody home in those cases. We've got to take care of these things. Broadwater County, for a while there, was either the first or second fastest growing county in Montana. And I thought I had heard a stat, and Darryl might even know, that per capita, we were one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And I understand it's only 8,000 people, but per capita, how fast we've been growing over these years, and it's only gonna continue. There are all these houses down south, there's places up north up here, and even around the city of Townsend, there's a subdivision just on the, south end over here that hasn't started yet. Eventually, that's probably gonna come in, and I don't even know, can't even remember how many houses that is.
130,
Okay.
130, 133.
Okay, so about 130, 135 houses. It's about 3 people per household on average or whatever it is. So you can do the math on that. So to get in back to the mill levy now. This mill levy, some people, let me go back, something popped in my mind. I want to talk about it. I talked about it at the last meeting. Another issue, I hear it every once in a while, and it's, why do they got all these new cars? I see all these new patrol cars driving around. I don't know if you saw it. I put a video on Facebook of an individual that ran into one of our deputies a year ago, head on, going about 102 miles an hour, up by Winston. The fact that that deputy is still with us is amazing. By the grace of God, he is still here, and he's still able to walk and spend time with his family and talk. He's still on light duty from that. But you look at that car and the way the impact and the pictures of it, and look at what happened with that. That's one of the many reasons we drive new patrol cars. We take patrol cars, you get about 100 to 120,000 miles. That's a perfectly good car for me to drive. My truck I drive right now has about 185,000 on it. We spent $15,000 on one vehicle last year trying to keep it on the road, and had 120,000 miles on it. Transmission, water pumps, radiators, it was just never ending. We got a transmission fixed on it. That day, he picks it up, we get an individual that tries to commit suicide down south. He's trying to get down there to help. One of the hoses blows off that transmission, and so then he's having more vehicle issues. It slows his response down there. Thank God everything worked out for that individual. But that's why we drive new vehicles. If you need our help, we want a reliable vehicle that's going to be able to get there and make sure that our deputies are safe and everyone else is safe, and we can get there in a timely manner. And we got every one of our deputies has a take-home vehicle, because they all get called out, they're on call, and they can't just go run down to the sheriff's office and pick up a car, if somebody needs help. We don't have 24-hour coverage around here. So that is why we have newer vehicles, and usually when we work a vehicle to its point to where it's no longer a reliable vehicle for us, we'll take it and give it to the commissioners. We're getting ready to give them a pickup right now that they're going to give to the extension office. And, Allison down there will be able to use it. It'll fit her perfectly. We've given vehicles to search and rescue. So we try to keep the vehicles within the county fleet, obviously, so it's saving taxpayer dollars. So anyway, getting into this mill levy. So it was voted in 5 years ago. I already talked about that. I've had people ask me, well, how much is it going to raise my taxes? Well, I'm not going to raise it at all. It's not a new mill levy because the other one expires. So it's basically to just continue what we have, so we can continue to provide the service that we're providing in Broadwater County, and we don't got to lose any services. I do have, so after the last meeting, we've talked to people. I've heard a common thing from people, what they want to see from Broadwater County, and that's what I hope to hear from you guys tonight. That they still want us to be able to grow with the population as it grows and keep the services that they currently have. I cannot continue to grow on a mill levy that expires every 5 years. If that continues to expire every 5 years, there could be a day down the road where that thing does not pass for whatever reasons. We end up having some recession or something bad ever happens and that does not pass. We may not be able to continue those, it may not pass and then we're gonna lose a bunch of services. So that's what I wanna kinda hear from you guys tonight. I have the numbers. So we are talking about milling the full amount, but I will lower it next year because going through the budget, we have that ability by 20%. Just to give you the numbers, on at the full amount that we're doing right now, on a $100,000 house, I know, there's not very many of them around here, it's $53.91 a year. On a $300,000 house, it's $161.72 a year. And on a $600,000 house, it's $323.43 a year. Obviously, this is going to be up to the voters, the citizens of Broadwater County, to decide what they want to see. I would hate to see everything that we've built and continue to build to get our staffing numbers where they need to be for now. I had an individual at the last meeting that talked about, there's stats out there that say, one deputy per 8,000 or per 1,000 people.
Boy, are you overstating.
Yeah. So, right now, if you go by those, we would be fine. I had an individual tell me last week, and you kind of have to agree with them that might be good for a city where that population is so dense. But you get here, you get people, it's gonna take, if you're on the backside of Canyon Ferry out by Avalanche or Confederate or Goose Bay, dealing with something back there, and something happens all the way on the south end of Broadwater County, you're either gonna have to call deputies out or leave. Pretty much what they're doing right now is we're calling people out to go deal with it. And we get calls, like I said, we get calls all across the county. It's not one area. I can think a few years ago out at Goose Bay, I think it was 4th of July weekend, or 4th of July, whatever it was, we had an individual that threatened to shoot, stab, rape all kinds of people out at this campground. The gun pointed at his chest, the trigger was pulled, but it was empty. He got reloaded, he continued to act like a fool. They ended up pointing it at his feet and shooting rounds off at his feet. It took us, we had, I think, one deputy on at the time. I got called out and another deputy got called out. So by the time we wake up, throw our clothes on, get a vest on, get our gun on, get in our car and get out there, you're 20, 25 minutes, and that's going fast. And we get out there, and thank God the whole situation, the guy had been going to jail, he's probably in prison right now. And then literally the next night out at Goose Bay, we had a sexual assault on a young female. So once again, all of our resources that night, 2 deputies, are pulled out there to go deal with this incident. So those are kind of some of the things that are going on, and I don't see it getting any better. Looking at just our case numbers, they're getting more and more. This last weekend, how busy it was for everyone, and we do have moments where we might not have a lot going on, but it is, if we got guys that are there, or deputies that are there, that will, the peace of mind knowing they're gonna respond and be there to help somebody out, to me, I don't know what price they can put on that. If we do this next year, if this gets voted in, I've made a promise to mill 20% less this next year. The numbers on that for a $100,000 house is $43.31. So it's $10, because I just want to be honest with people on how much of a difference it makes. The $300,000 house is $129.40. So you're at about $130. $600,000 house is $258.80. It's not even $100 on a $600,000 house. But I understand that things are constantly going up. Constantly going up. I'm not trying to put anyone down. I'm just saying, it is, city water rates have gone up. The dump rates at for the dump, they've gone up, your assessments. You know, your property taxes, they've skyrocketed over these last few years. You know, so I'm trying to do what I can to help people out, and use what we need to continue providing the services that we've built up. So, I don't know if anyone has any questions. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much time. I think it's been maybe about a half hour of me rambling and bambling. So if anyone has questions, please just come up to the microphone. Try to talk into the microphone. That way everyone on the YouTube can hear your question, because I'm sure somebody else probably has that same question. Anyone have any questions or any even comments? If you got a comment, I'd love to hear it. I'm here to listen to people and see what you guys have to say.
I'll be your guinea pig. Okay, I have a couple of questions and then, probably 3 questions. So are you losing deputies, or deputies having issues because of the stress of the amount of time they're spending on calls, lack of sleep, lack of time with families?
I would say no, not right now. I would say that is probably a common problem throughout law enforcement everywhere. You know, you look at the climate of law enforcement over these last, I can't even remember when Ferguson, Missouri kind of kicked off and all these defund the police issues started. Well, I mean, with all of that, you start to have staffing problems. And that kind of brings up something real quick. You know, I look at and you hear the stats of all these major cities that defunded the police and how much money they are now spending trying to get it back up. They're spending more now trying to get the services built back up than they would have if they would have just left it alone. But I would say right now, overall, I would say we have got a phenomenal group of deputies, detention and dispatchers that I don't know if I've ever heard of or seen myself a better group of people that are dedicated to the job. They show up every day. Our retention has been so much better especially because it took a few years to get things built up, but these last couple of years, retention has been so much better. So,
My compliments to you and them for doing that. Do you have external law enforcement contracts?
yeah, so we have one interlocal agreement with the city of Townsend. By law, they have to provide law enforcement services. The cost of doing that themselves would be outrageous, so we contract with them. And really our other sources of revenue are, our main sources of revenue, the city of Townsend, our mill levy, state entitlement and PILT, and then the county, the commissioners give us right now 34.4% of the floating mills that they get in. Mills they're kind of hard to explain there.
We do have a small Forest Service.
Yeah, we do have a small one with the Forest Service, but
Very
it's
small.
pennies to the dollar, you know, it's to go patrol around. When we do get calls up in the Forest Service, they give us money that we can use for equipment, so we do buy some equipment with that sometimes.
How about the Bureau of Reclamation?
So the BOR, we used to have a contract with them, that has since fallen by the wayside. So we would have deputies that would be working just a BOR shift. They would get a call, or a call would come out that's not on BOR land. Well, they're a deputy, they can't just ignore it, you know. So they would go out and either take that call, or they'd be driving from, White Earth coming this way, and somebody would be speeding past them, so they would stop them. Well, the BOR started nitpicking every minute of our log sheets to the point to where they weren't paying us what it cost a deputy to be out there. So we just canceled the contract. We still respond to emergencies, or really any call we get out there, we're gonna go. We can't enforce, so BOR is federal, we cannot enforce federal law. I'll give you, we had an individual, they were camping too long. And we had the I don't even know what he was, investigator or something for the BOR, I think he was in Billings.
Not sure where it was.
It wasn't around here. But he called us, you know, and asked why we couldn't go kick him out. I'm like, well, because it's public property. It's not, it's a federal thing. You guys gotta come down and do that. And he said, well, just go write him a trespass ticket. I'm like, okay. If you think I'm gonna write somebody a trespass ticket on public property, you are out of your mind. I am not, you're not doing that. So I told him, I said, if you wanna kick them out, you can come down here and tell them they've overstayed their camping. I don't think he ever did, but we may have sent deputies out there to just tell them, hey, you're not allowed to camp out here for, I think it's like 14 or 16 days. So we may have had a deputy go out and do that, but, so no, our current BOR contract, and alls it was a full-time deputy to drive around the lake. So like, in the summer, obviously, the lake gets very, very, very busy, so it was a busy job in the summer. This time of year, they just drove around and watched people walk out on the ice. That's about all, I mean, it was so, I don't know if it was the most productive use of a deputy, but.
Okay. So I think you made the comment that based on the population growth, like doubling in the last, whatever it was, 5 or 6 years? No, 10
Doubled
years.
in 20 years, but
20
in the
years.
last from 2020 to 23, we gained about 3,000 people.
Okay, and so do you have, with that 3,000 person growth in the county, right now you've got enough deputies to cover that based on your, number of deputies per population growth? If we assumed that carried for the next 5 years, if you did not have this levy, would you be able to keep up with your deputy population
No,
growth? Okay.
no,
So you need this levy to be able to stay up with whatever population growth somebody's projecting, but at some level, you gotta have something.
yeah, so
Okay,
essentially, if we didn't have this, there would, I hate the scare tactics and the threats, but there would be a diminished law enforcement presence in Broadwater County.
okay,
It's just the way it would be. We would not be able to afford it. Our current budget is, last year it was $3.2 million. 77% of that's wages. So I think our mill levy last year was just over $1 million is what it provided for us to be able to provide these services. Just to have a deputy on the road is about $100,000. That's a rough estimate, but about $100,000 per year for their insurance, work comp, wages, overtime, and all that. And
so of your 609 cases that you had last year, were any of those dealing with illegals?
not off the top of my head,
Okay,
but I don't know about last year. I will say we don't experience a large population of illegals. When I was on patrol, I remember we arrested an illegal that was working on a house down south. And ICE, we brought the individual up to the jail, and then ICE ended up coming and picking him up. But
okay,
over the last few years, I don't think there's been much of that going on. So,
thank you.
yeah.
So I say you can tell them, try to take about traveling through our county.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Well, there is, so Mark just had, it's the Venezuelan gang, right?
Yeah, Trenday and Rockwell,
Trenday, Wakaragua, or whatever they're called. They are here in Montana.
they're in Bozeman.
Yeah, they're right down in Bozeman.
They're coming through our county.
Yeah, they're driving through. I will say, if you go down to Teasers on a weekend and walk through there, there's times it's nothing, it's just a lot of out-of-state plates and Hispanics. I'm not profiling or saying that they're illegal, but that's what you experience when you go down there. Big Sky has a huge population of immigrants, illegal, legal. They have a lot of people up there working all those construction jobs up there, so. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or?
Okay, here I go. Question, how many deputies did you have in 2023?
23 would have been, what would have been 9,
And you have how many now?
10.
10.
I have one position that's open for the south end. We have been diligently trying to fulfill that. We just got notification, I'll just tell you while you're here, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to do a conditional offer to somebody tomorrow, or Thursday, to be able, once this passes, we'll be able to hire them,
Okay.
so.
I guess I would like to elaborate a little more on the figures, because I have my tax bill here. And in 2023, my public safety, that's you guys, right? My tax bill says that you guys got $288.90. Okay? And then you go to the next year, and it says that public safety is $532.47. It's almost double. So where did that money go? Obviously, if it's got another doubled mine, I'm sure most everybody in here did the same, because everybody's
Yeah.
property taxes went up.
Yeah, so mills, they're, if you don't understand them, so the way the tax base comes in is you get mills.
Correct.
And those mills are assessed a value from the state. Counties are held to the commissioners will be able to answer this better than I would. It's like 0.5% of 3 years of inflation times 3 years of inflation or whatever it is. It's not, so they're held to this smaller growth. The mill levy is not held to that. So the mill levy is able to grow. That is why I feel that like next year I'd be able to mill 20% less. But though that money has gone to hiring a school resource officer
Right.
and then another deputy down south. And then obviously things like, we're not immune from inflation.
True.
I have a patrol truck that we bought in 2020. It cost $35,000, or not 2020, 22. The next year, the price of that was about $50,000.
Right.
Nothing special, rubber floor, just standard cloth seats,
Right.
so the price of all that's gone up for us too, gas, everything.
Okay, but then you go back to the numbers again, like I said, if because you said that our population has almost doubled, and extra 3,000 in just the last 3 years, so they're all paying taxes, or most of them are anyway, and stuff, so that's what I said, if mine doubled, it still went into your fund, correct?
Yes.
So comes up to a lot of money, way more than just, I don't know how many 100,000 that come up to, but I'm sure a few. Because if there's 3 people per household, 8,000, so, you're looking at what, 4,500, 5,000 homes
Probably roughly
that
right
are
around.
paying, say, 500 on the average.
And I don't know you don't know the average, because you'd have to know the value. Every home or every property has a different value.
True.
So it's all a different amount.
Right.
Every person has a different amount, whether it's, my house, compared to his house, compared to your house. There's probably 3 different numbers.
I'm sure it is.
So, but the money, I have a copy of the budget. I'm more than willing to take one if you'd like to see it.
No, I'm just
but-
wondering, because I keep asking this question, I've been into the commissioners and asked, it's like, okay, where does everybody's taxes have doubled,
So
but where did all the money go?
So
And
that-
I get the deer in the headlight looks like, what are you talking about was the last time?
So-
3 times I was
Yeah.
told that.
So, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not going to claim to be one. Property taxes come in, they go to the state holds the counties to the rate of inflation. And then you got taxes that go to the state, you pay your federal taxes and all that. And then the state gives the counties their money.
Right.
And as far
The
as
county gets 38.3%.
the what?
38.3%.
And the rest of that county money, that would be something that the commissioners are gonna have to answer that. as far as, you know, the services that are provided by the county. You got your roads, you got your sanitation, you've got employees, your health departments, you've got obviously commissioners, you have, they have their own, I mean, there's all these different departments that all have their own costs where that money gets divvied up.
Okay, excellent, yeah, and it's all itemized, I was
Yeah.
just wondering that, you know, it's almost doubled, so it's like, okay, so if you take 235, whatever it was, a year and a half ago, and that's what you got from everybody, and now you're getting 580 some from everybody,
So I will say that
that's a pretty good boost to your budget.
oh, it is, and I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But if you look at our budget last year, and I don't remember what this current budget we're working on is 3.2 million. But last year, we spent 101% of our budget. It goes to, and I do public tours of our office. And I would invite everyone in here, everyone listening to come down to one and just see the operations and just to have a deputy on the road. You have uniforms, you have a firearm, you have a vest that costs, you know, $2,500-ish. You have a patrol car that, just to get a patrol car and patrol car upfitted with the equipment in it, it's like $75,000.
Yep.
Then on top of that, you have insurance, you have a laptop in the cars, we have a mapping system, so deputies can see where each other are if something's going on, dispatch can see where the deputies are if something's going on, and so if a call comes in, dispatch can see. We have a CAD system. It costs thousands of dollars to keep that thing every year. You have radios, you have to buy radios and maintain radios, and so they can talk to each other. They have portable radios. Those are, I don't know, $9,000. You got a taser on them. I'm just looking at Justin back there. You know, we've got body cams. Just our
Right.
cars with the technology and the way things have changed. Our cars, we got a camera system for in-car cameras. You have to have the laptop to view, to have the viewer screen on it and to be able to like stop video and however all that works.
But you guys, I mean, granted, new technology, they've updated and all that. I'm just, like I said, a year and a half ago, you had a $3 million budget or a $2 million budget, but just with the tax increase and stuff, that went from 2.5 million, 3 million that you collected from everybody to 5 to 6 million.
No,
So there's a lot of money there that.
no, my current budget's 3.2 million.
Okay,
My current budget we're operating on is $3.2 million. So it's not 5 or 6, it's 3.2 right now.
but like I said,
I
I'm
don't
not a
know.
mathematician, so like I said, from a year and a half ago, what I paid and what it is now, like I said, it's almost double, so.
And that's where, like I said, a year and a half ago, the mill values in Broadwater County took a huge jump. I think it was like close to $7,000 per mill. And then, so we were able to take that big jump. So what we did with that money is hire a school resource officer.
Yep.
And then we hired another deputy. So we gained, I want to say, from the mill value that year, it was like $250,000. And that's a rough number off the top of my head. I can get it for you if you'd like. But that's how much more of the mill value mills you get. So if mill value, so you get 39 mills and they go up $7,000, essentially I get 7 times 39, and that's how much money I have.
Right.
So,
All right, thank you for your time.
you're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or concerns?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Can you talk about returning? I know I gotta go to mine. You talk about returning money. You made a pledge to get money returned to us next year. Is that money up for grabs where another department can say, okay, we'll take that?
No,
I'm not gonna find like gun towers at the dump.
no, that money, if I decide to, so the way the mill works is the wording is up to 39.93 mils.
Okay.
That means I can mill anywhere from 0 to 39.93. If I decide to mill 31.95 mils next year, That money just means it does not get taxed out. You guys save it.
Okay, and for my neighbors, I said this a few days ago, you know how I feel about this. 1 per 1,000 is not adequate in a rural county. And all we need is to have some kind of fracas where we get a deputy with a wrenched knee and a broken ankle, and we just lost 20% of our manpower. And I don't like seeing guys getting hung out. And I know you don't either. But that could happen tonight. That could have happened last Tuesday with this, the nightmare scenario day. And I want to get that on the table and everybody understand how precarious of a situation this manpower is when you're talking about 10 guys. One man is 10%, et cetera, et cetera. So,
And right now we have an open position from Under Sheriff Harris retiring. We actually have the deputy that got hit head on, he is on light duty, and we had another deputy just had a knee replaced yesterday. So we are down back to the numbers where we were 6 years ago, 5 years ago, where we got 1 on day shift right now, 2 on nights. We're hoping to get a couple people hired. Once you hire somebody, it's not just they're in a car driving down the road. We hire them, they spend 16, if they have no experience, they spend 16 weeks through a field training program with us. I want to make sure that these guys are out there being able to protect themselves and protect the public and not violate anyone's rights and be able to handle situations. 16 weeks probably isn't long enough, but it's a 16-week program. We don't have them. Then they go to the academy. The academy's 12 weeks. So, we don't have them at all. They are in Helena at the Law Enforcement Academy going through all of their training. And so that's 28 weeks of, in a year, that first year where we do not have the individual, on the road. They are through field training. They are in a car with another deputy. They have a firearm. They can, assist, but they just are not fully trained to be able to handle every situation. So yeah, it did happen. So we're right down to where,
But nothing else happened.
yeah, we're kind of crossing our fingers that either 1 or 2 of them can come back off of light duty, or we get somebody hired here and get them trained so they can go off the patrol run.
You need a spare deputy. Because then you've got things like vacations.
Yeah, and that's right. We got, they get vacation time, sick time.
Yeah.
They take vacations, and we got to shift people around. These guys, sometimes they have to work 5-6 days in a row just to cover shifts. We do have our reserves. We do utilize them. So I don't know if any of you that know Brian Morgan. He lives here in town. He's our reserve. He kind of helped pilot the reserve program. He can work a patrol shift, but he has to be on with a full-time deputy. He also has a full-time job. So it's not like he can just cover shifts whenever. So we do call him, and I don't know too many people like him that will take vacation to come work. But, he's a great hand to have around.
Extra body. You talked about not just having a 5-year levy. How long do you want to run it for this time?
That's what I'm trying to toss around. Even on a 7-year, 10-year, these guys, I'm trying to get people to come here. We got a 20-year retirement. So they're here for 20 years. The population's continuing to grow. Even if it was a lifetime mill levy, we would be able to grow with the population of the county. As the mill values grow, we can grow with them. And then, we get another 2,000 people, we might be able to hire another deputy or 2.
Yeah, well, in theory, with all these people, hopefully if they're collecting the money, you'll have it there to do it with.
Yes. So there was and that's a Department of Revenue problem.
I know.
They missed a whole bunch of houses. Well, I don't know if they missed houses. They were so backed up with the growth that they got a bunch of them caught up. I don't know where they're at, if they have everyone caught up or not. But
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
yeah, and I can lower, like let's just throw out, we do get a permanent mill levy. and it says up to 39.93 mils. I can lower that to what I need. So if I'm sitting there saying, well, our mill values have grown enough, I'm gonna lower it down to, 25 mils or whatever it is. I can lower that down to use only what we need. And I know the question's gonna come up. How do we know that you're using the money and you're not just over it? Our budgets are public information. Every year through the commission, we have a budgeting process, and you can call and talk to me whenever, to be able to talk about this stuff.
So, this is a comment, I guess, Nick. I appreciate your efforts at trying to maintain an organization as good as you can on the edge. I think people that have managed organizations, staffed them, businesses and stuff, some of the things that you just have to do if you're going to stay functional is you have to plan for the vacations. You have to plan for sick leave. You have to plan for things that are going to happen that you don't expect, but you know you're going to get them. And I guess from my personal perspective, I want to see you have the ability to get this organization to that point. And if that means that, I guess first of all, you need the 5 mills to continue to grow. To grow with the population that we're seeing growing right now. And so build in what you've got to have to keep that stability there. We need 4 deputies on every day, 2 day, 2 night, when you got somebody on vacation and somebody's in the hospital. So you're going to plan for that. I support you in planning for that, whether you ask for a 5 mil 5-year or a 39 mil 5-year authorization, or you ask for permanent. From my perspective, I would support it either way. It's up to you to make that decision. But my biggest fear is that you hold yourself back and don't plan for these things, and then you do have to call somebody else to come in and back you up and those kind of things. And I would rather see those people here. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
I'm going to kind of do the same thing, Al, thanks. You come in quarterly and present to the city a record of the work that you do for the city. If I recall correctly, the city represents a little less than about a third of the population of the county, give or take. I've never seen that list be less than 1,500 events. I've seen it in the summer go to thousands. That's just here, where it's a short distance to get to the problem. Do I want to pay more taxes? No, frankly, I'm in Montana because I want taxes like I want a hole in my head. But we can't have a community without law enforcement. The last 2 years have been a mess. And I'm afraid the next 3 to 5 years are going to be a mess too. I hope for a better economy that's going to make it easier to bear the load. But I support you too. I'll vote for the levy because we need the staff and we need the equipment to do a good job. I would hate to have, as part of that report to the city, a list of the calls that you couldn't respond to. I have not yet seen that. And yet I fear for that if we allow the ratio of officers to population to drop to too low a point. So thank you. I appreciate your service.
Thanks, JB. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Good to see you, Darryl.
Yeah. So I want to talk about something that we haven't talked about. If this mill levy were to fail this time, people aren't thinking about the timeline that it would take to get it back in place. So I want everybody to start thinking about that. That would be next November before you could get it on the ballot again, and it probably would not be a good thing to do. right? That soon.
Yeah, I've been told that it'd probably be best to wait till a year from this spring. So
That's
you're
right.
looking at a year, almost a year and a half.
And by the time you get it on the Department of Revenue's books, that takes another 6 months, so we're talking at least 2 years before we could get this levy back in place. So that means that's 2 years that you guys are gonna have to struggle to try to maintain your level of service. And I know as being a commissioner how that works. That's very tough to balance out the small budget that we already have to try to support you guys. Another thing that folks don't think about when they pay their taxes, they ask, well, where did all the money go? Well, we're sitting in them, most of it. 60% of your taxes, if you don't realize it, go to support the school system. That other 40% is what the county has to operate on. They already give you 1/3, so that means that these commissioners only get to balance out the rest of their budget on 2/3 of the tax money of that 40% that's left. So everybody really needs to think about how this all works. That's my comment.
Thanks, Daryl.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the commission, Daryl, you know, over the last 6 years have been more than supportive of this office. I can't say that's always been like that, but I would say these last, 6 years, 8 years, I mean, it's been way better. They commit 34.4% of the floating mills, which turns out to be roughly about 1/3 of the money they get in to help our office. That means the other money goes to, like I said, it goes to wages for your clerk and recorder, your treasurer, your justice of the peace, the clerk of district court. You get into the road department and into the solid waste. There's so many, different departments throughout the county that little bit then gets divided up through. They've been a huge supporter of us. I know Daryl was part of, we had a need for a body scanner. We used to do strip searches with inmates every time they come into the jail. It's not a good thing. It's not good for the people getting them done, and it's not good for the people doing them. Without getting into too many details. There also was a huge liability of doing that. There's things you're going to miss. And we did miss it. One major one that we were lucky this individual did not die in our jail. There was some drugs in a place and it ended up being an overdose. We could not find those drugs with the strip search. Well, they committed to buying us a body scanner. It didn't come out of my budget. The commissioners bought that. It was, like $140,000. So, and then right now, one of Daryl's last projects he worked on with us, almost getting there. If you drive up Cedar Street, you'll see a blue building off to the left. It's been basically doubled in size, and then you'll see holes out there today. There might be posts in there now. They've committed to helping us with an impound lot. Right now, our deputies, if we have to seize a car, we have to, and it ends up being evidence for a long period of time, we have to put it in a storage unit. We're paying for 3 or 4 storage units right now, just for vehicles that we've seized in different crimes. Unfortunately, we still have Mason's car that's still in evidence. We have to keep that. We have an unsolved homicide that happened just south of town here. When was that, 2021, somewhere in there? We had an individual just found deceased out in the field out here. We got 1 detective. We had to call the help of Department of Criminal Investigation, come down and help with that. They worked that thing to the very, very, as far as they possibly could. It's still unsolved, unfortunately. So it's an unsolved homicide. We have 2 vehicles from that in storage units. What they have committed to helping purchase that, because it was part of the enterprise fund that bought that. So we had to buy it back, and they gave us some money out of PILT to help, get basically the building doubled in size and then a fence around it, so we have a secure place to put cars, evidence, and things like that. So.
And we didn't even have to ask for that. They just.
It wasn't even I think Mike Delger was working on that project right before he left, and then Daryl kind of took it over a little bit, and then the commissioners have just kind of helped with that. So, it has been a huge help in just the peace of mind knowing that they have our back, and that they are there to support us in what we're doing, so. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? All right. I guess I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's Tuesday night. Everyone's probably tired. There's a basketball game going on right now. I apologize for the scheduling conflict. Well, we do have so there's a QR code. There's one back there on that table and one right up here. It's a survey that I currently have out just to kind of see what people are thinking where we're at. So if you just take your camera, scan that, it'll bring up a link, and just kind of let us know kind of where we're at. We kind of have to have an answer on this resolution. We're like crunching it down to the last minute. I think the resolution has to be on the agenda next Wednesday. It has to be posted 48 hours in advance. So I'm hoping after I kind of get a consensus from today and Thursday, we're going to go down south and talk to them. We'll be able to have the final say on what we're doing. So. I mean, do you guys, do you guys feel that a lifetime or a permanent mill levy would be something that would be supported?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you're in charge.
Thanks. Can't promise forever, but I still got some time.
No pressure.
You can tell, like, we've been transparent with all this stuff.
Yeah.
If we don't need, if it's up to 39.93 and we don't need extra money, we don't have much money sitting in the bank. We're not gonna take your money and invest it. Whatever we need is all we're taking.
I know, I
You
just
can
look
come
at
and
the-
ask me.
I just look at the national news and all the corruptness that's going on, and somebody's
Yeah.
got a new car on the side, I mean.
That's not-
I said,
Yeah.
you need to be in charge.
No, and like I said, the budget, it's a public process. It takes usually, most of the time, it's a couple months of meetings at the commissioners. It's public, everyone can come. I got our budget right here to show, if anyone wants a copy or to come look at it, you can come down and look to see kind of where the money goes, and I guess I would hold, there's an election every 4 years for me. So if people feel that things that I'm doing something that they don't approve of, that's what an election's for. So I feel that I've been as transparent as I possibly can, trying to talk to people and just tell them exactly how it's gonna be or what we're doing. Like I said, I do public tours of our office. If you call me and you can't make the public tour, I'll set time aside to do it. That tour usually takes about 2 hours where I'm showing,
You should go. It's
We
great.
went.
yeah, showing body cam footage
It was
and
very
stats.
It's worth
And
it.
just kind of you see a building, but you don't know what's inside that building. You walk into the back, we got an evidence room. It's plumb full of drugs and guns and everything else used in crimes. We've got records. We have to keep records. So we got just piles of records back there right now. We've got just the servers and power and everything that goes into that jail to help it operate is just tremendous. You go down in dispatch, they got the computers down there, and you sit down there and it's so overwhelming listening to dispatch. It's just phone calls and guys on radios, and in the summer they're paging ambulance and fire, and it's just a little bit of everything. And it like I said, it overwhelms me sitting down there. I'm just like, I don't know how they deal with it. You'll walk around that jail. These guys are walking around dealing with, people who have been put in jail. We hold people, we've had people in there that we're holding for Helena or Lewis Clark County or Gallatin County in the past, Department of Corrections, they've been charged with homicide. We've got our own guys in there with, rape and things like that it's not a pleasant environment sometimes. And, we got people, they have a job to keep the safety and security of the facility, and they do a phenomenal job right now, so.
I mean, the mic?
Yeah, I better.
Yeah.
Sound like a boss up here telling you what to do. It just helps the people online hear your question.
Out of curiosity, how permanent is the phrase permanent really? 15, 20 years from now, the state legislature dramatically changes the way taxation works in Montana, the economy shifts dramatically, And suddenly we're facing a opportunity where it may not make sense anymore for the mill levy to continue. It may be a different path that makes more sense. So how permanent is permanent really?
You know, I wish I had an answer for that. The legislation stuff is such an unknown. Talking to the commissioners, they've been up there dealing with some of it. It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot right now going on with things like gaining any ground with some of the property tax problems.
The near future shows no change.
Yeah, but you never know what down the road. I would say if you get down the road and you flat don't need it, we just won't mill it. You know, we just, if I can say, you never know what's gonna happen. Let's say Broadwater County gets a bunch of outside tax revenue or sources or businesses or something that come in here and I don't know if it ever fixed the problem, but I would just mill less, you know? So say our 34.4% ends up being, you know, 3 million, I might only have to mill however many mills, you know, 200,000 is or whatever, you know, that's just an example, but. All right, well, I don't want to take up too much time, so thank you guys, I do appreciate you guys for coming, getting informed, talking to us. I would say I need help. I can't talk to everyone. I try my best to have these meetings. I try to get on Facebook, talk to people. I'm gonna do 2 more sets of meetings after this first set. So if you know people that have questions, they can call my office, talk to me, I'll answer their questions. They can come do tours, try to encourage your friends, your family to get involved, talk to people, vote, and just kind of let us know what they want. So thank you guys, I appreciate you guys for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.